What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis, and today we have the ultimate guide for Destiny 2 Season of the Wish, showcasing everything you need to know about how the heck this new season works, from getting the new loot to doing the new seasonal activities to getting those new seasonal upgrades. And so, let's get started. But just before we do, yeah, I'm not going to be able to finish this raid, guys. I need to go make dinner.
What do you mean you need to get dinner? It's 3 o'clock.
Yeah, well, I got to decide what to eat, then I got to go to the store, I got to get all the ingredients. If they don't have something, I need to pick something else. It's a whole ordeal.
Dude, just get HelloFresh.
HelloFresh? Guys, the holidays are right around the corner. It's a busy time for everyone, so let HelloFresh deliver everything you need to make a fresh meal right to your door. They even have meals you can make in 15 minutes to save a ton of time. And you can pick from over 45 different meals every single week. In fact, the one we had recently was the enchiladas, and I thought they were, as the kids say, bussin'. That's so good.
Really?
That was really good. But it's not just dinners. There's over 100 curated picks from the HelloFresh market. Stuff like lunch items, snacks, fruits, veggies, even breakfast options. And speaking of which, guys, if you click the link in the description down below and use code POGCACUSFREE.
Seriously?
I think they think it's funny to make it so cringe for me, but you're gonna get a free breakfast item with your active subscription. So let HelloFresh take the stress away from your holiday season. Guys, definitely click that link. Alright, now first things first, there is a brand new seasonal quest line that I would highly recommend you guys go through. It's going to give you an introduction to a lot of these aspects, but it's far from perfect when it comes to explaining exactly how things work. Now, first of all, let's dive into the new rewards. Like, how do you get them? Well, they're going to be located, as you can see right here, when you go up to Riven. Riven is going to be the main kind of vendor you're going to interact with this season, and as you can see, there's a normal kind of rewards track. There's bounties available here as well, and then if you go into the focusing options, we see kind of what you usually would expect for this season. We have the option to just focus a wish engram just as it is. Then you have wish weapon focusing, where you can spend 2 engrams to get a random weapon or 4 for a particular weapon. And then you have undying weapon focusing. So the values are the same, 2 for a random weapon or 4 for a particular weapon. And these are basically just extra weapons Bungie has thrown into the season, brought forth all the way from Season 8 out of sunsetting, and now you can earn them with brand new perks, very similar to the old school Reckoning weapons that were brought forward, I believe, last season. The big difference here, guys, is that wish weapons will drop randomly as rewards for doing the seasonal activities, and I don't believe the undying weapons will, or at least not to the same degree. I have not gotten one yet. And importantly, unlike the Reckoning weapons last season, you can actually craft the undying weapons and the wish weapons. So there is going to be a lot of different crafting patterns to unlock this season. So definitely you're going to spend a lot of time here decoding. On the second page, guys, there's going to be armor if you want to decode that as well. But you might be wondering, everything's grayed out. How the heck do you unlock weapon focusing? Because there's no seasonal unlocks at this vendor page. Well, we're going back to a similar method that we had in Season of the Deep. So as you can see right here, guys, you open up your menu, you can go to Season 23, click on Season of the Wish, and you can get here via the quest tab as well. But then you have your seasonal challenge page that we're all kind of familiar with, guys. But as you can see right here, if you tab over to seasonal bonuses, now below Season of the Deep, you have Season of the Wish. And right here is where you're going to unlock stuff like weapon focusing. You can see right here, you can also unlock stuff that's going to give you guaranteed deep sights every single week and all of that stuff. So instead of actually buying these at a vendor page, again, just like Season of the Deep, you have to actually go here, pay attention, because they all have different requirements, and definitely try to go after certain seasonal upgrades that are going to give you the best rewards. So like, I don't really care about armor focusing. I'm obviously going to try to laser focus on weapon focusing, and as soon as I have that unlocked, I really want to make sure I unlock those guaranteed deep sight rewards. Like there's ones that give you, you know, guaranteed 1 for the first time you focus a certain weapon every single week and stuff like that. Because like I said, there's a lot more patterns than normal because of the Undying weapons and the Wish weapons, so certainly getting a lot of deep sights is going to be very valuable. However, guys, there's actually one more set of new weapons you can earn this season, and that is the Dreaming City weapons. As you can see, the seasonal quest chain takes you through a blind well run, and at the end of it, I actually got the Abide the Return, the sword that you get from the Dreaming City. Except, if you take a look here, guys, it actually has all new perks as well as an origin trait. So those Dreaming City weapons were upgraded as well for this season. I don't believe they're craftable, but certainly pay attention when you get like a tiger spray. Don't just delete it, right? Now, moving on from there, let's talk about the brand new seasonal activities introduced this season. So you have two. There's actually Riven's Lair, and then there's the Coil. Now, interestingly, these are both 3-player activities, so no 6-player match-made activity this time around. And importantly, Riven's Lair is basically a casual version of the Coil. So I'm gonna explain the Coil first, and it's actually very cool, very long potentially, and very complicated. So when you enter into the Coil, the first thing you're going to see is this huge pot. You shoot it, and then you're going to get a bunch of fused wishing glass. Now this is an inactivity currency, and what you can use it for is, as you can see, when you interact with Riven right here, you can actually buy certain upgrades. Now, these upgrades have different tiers and get more expensive as the tier increases. So I can go and buy, you know, for example, I buy this one that's going to massively increase the amount of class ability I get, or I could potentially just save this currency until the next time I'm at this vendor and I'll have even more to buy a potentially higher tier modifier. But regardless, you're going to go through this portal, and then you're going to eventually get to kind of this area here. This is going to be a pathway, and this is like a transitory zone between encounters. Now, importantly, while you're in these zones in the Coil, you're going to actually have the ability to get more points, and you do that mainly from these jars. As you can see right here, like we have a jar on the ground. I'm going to shoot it. It's going to explode with these objects I pick up, and it just gives me a bunch of score. Now, additionally, killing enemies in these zones or just in encounters can also drop like this glass that I can pick up and get more score. Now, why do you want score? Well, as you can see right here, if I go to one of these like hidden zones where there's a chest here, as you can see right here, the door says that I need to reach a higher score. So as I continue deeper and deeper into the Coil, as I collect more of these glass shards from jars and enemies, I'm going to get more score, and eventually I'm going to be able to access these chests. But regardless, eventually you're going to activate all 3 of the different platforms, and then you can push forward through a portal to an actual like encounter objective. Now, this is going to take you to kind of a random area throughout essentially the Last Wish raid, and here you're going to have essentially a random objective. So sometimes you're going to have to, like in this case, you have to defeat Scorn to eventually unlock the ability to take down these guys' immunity shields, and then once you kill them, you're going to like defeat this encounter and move into another transitory zone. Then you have another opportunity to get more glass shards going through this zone, and then you're going to make it to another encounter, but these second encounters are always bigger. They're kind of like the boss fights. So as you can see right here, we had this one where you have this immune shield enemy. You need to kill these glowing guys, get a buff, lower the shield, and then you have to cleanse the buff in the very middle here, or else you will die. Keep that in mind. And then you just whittle away at this boss. Once you kill the boss, however, this is where things get interesting, because basically in the Riven's Lair activity and the other activity, you do this and you'd just be done. Like it would just end and there's no glass shards or anything in that activity. But in the Coil, what you're actually going to do is get teleported back to Riven, as you can see, and then you have another jar that gives you the focused wishing glass that again you can spend on those modifiers, and you're also going to get a reward chest, as you can see right here. Now after you claim the reward chest and potentially get your upgrades, you can just continue. So the same thing is going to happen. You're going to open the portal, go into that transitory zone. That's where you're going to find those points, aka glass, as well as have those hidden chests that you'll eventually get enough score to activate. And also keep in mind, guys, that sometimes when you're in these transitory pathway zones, you're going to have random additional negative modifiers going on. So sometimes you get the poisoned areas, sometimes you get, as you're seeing right here, encroaching darkness. You're going to have to go to these light areas to get rid of that darkness, or you will just die. And sometimes you're going to get the trap areas like this one, where there's actually a ton of traps everywhere. So watch out for the circles on the ground and on the wall. Spikes are going to fly out there and kill you. And that's actually going to matter because during the Coil activity, as you kind of saw at the beginning, you have limited revives. So that's definitely something you don't want to go through these zones willy-nilly and waste revives that could become very important if you're struggling on a boss. Now, another important thing is if you keep going, you actually get harder and harder enemies. Basically, your light level is essentially set at a 0 modifier, and every time you continue, you're going to get 5 more light level disparity. So the second time you're going through these zones, the second time you're fighting those encounters, you're going to be facing enemies at a 5 light level disadvantage. And then if you get all the way back to Riven, so we have another boss fight, and you know, those boss fights can range in mechanics from killing enemies, getting the craniums, shooting down immune shields, like we said earlier, getting other kinds of bonuses to take down immune shields. There's another one where the boss is kind of trapped in a Vex prison, and you use the craniums to shoot the floating objects to release the boss that you can then damage and all that stuff. But again, once you get all the way back, then you can go again for a 10 light level discrepancy, and it's going to just keep increasing by 5 every time you keep running one of these loops. Now, importantly, guys, again, as you keep doing these loops and you accumulate those focus shards from the final jug right next to Riven, you can keep buying more and more bonuses that is going to somewhat help you offset the light level discrepancy that keeps growing. Another thing that we discovered that's very important is that as you keep going through, eventually that one reward chest gets better. As you can see right here, we went through 3 times, and you actually get the choice between a weapons chest or an armor chest, which is huge. Like, that's going to make actually getting the seasonal loot you want significantly easier. So the more time you spend here, it's kind of like deep dives, the better the loot is going to be as you push forward. And so that is the Coil activity. Definitely, it's going to be where you're spending a ton of time within this season. Now, like I said earlier, the Riven's Lair activity is basically as if you did just one run through of the Coil, like beat the second kind of boss encounter, got to the final chest, and then it just ends. And there's no glass, there's no upgrades, anything like that. But you'll actually often face the same encounters with the same mechanics, the same bosses even with the same mechanics in both of the activities. The Coil just is kind of ever increasing, lets you delve further, and has the whole like glass and upgrade system. That's the big difference. And so guys, that's really it for what you mainly need to know this season. Remember, there's going to be new weekly storyline quests every single reset, so make sure to be grabbing those and doing those, because those are going to likely result in a bunch of rewards, including a bunch of wish engrams and stuff that you are going to need to focus. Guys, that's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.